Words. As a reporter, it's my job to use these to hook you within the first couple of seconds so that you listen to the rest of my story. Simple. So to me, words are everything. When I tell a story, I talk about the subject of the story so many times that it's important to switch it up. Okay, who in this room remembers a guy by the name of Charlie Sheen? Yeah, I did that story. Back in the back of the room, yes. Charlie Sheen wrecked his room at the Plaza Hotel back in 2010. Anyone remember that? Yeah. This is right before he went winning. Still, it gets laughs. Well, in that story, I called him Charlie Sheen, the 45-year-old, the 2.5 Men star, the, what else did I, oh, the Hollywood bad boy, and the actor with an admitted penchant for hookers. Before that, I did a story when I worked in Connecticut. It was about a guy who would fill water bottles with an explosive substance. He would place them at different locations around town. He'd get his rifle and he'd shoot at them, causing them to explode. Whatever they were next to would explode too. And before I could even write about this guy, the local paper did. And they gave him a name. Pretty much after that, Bruce Forrest of Weston, Connecticut was known as the Porta Potty Bomber. Labels. We all use them. I want you to do me a favor. Think right now. This is your opportunity. Think right now about 3 labels that you give yourself, that you embody every day. You may have never thought about it. Here's your opportunity. Everyone got something in their head? Well, Charlie Sheen and the Porta Potty Bomber got their labels after they did something to earn them. But what if I could tell you that the reverse could be true, that what you call yourself creates yourself? I'm about to admit a secret to you that I've never admitted to anyone else. That's why my title is called Confessions of a TV Reporter. I've never told any of my bosses. I've never told any of my friends. And I've never told any of my ex-boyfriends. The secret is, I'm not supposed to be here. Many say that I was supposed to be a throwaway. The real truth of the matter is, the reason why I have this secret and why I'm not supposed to be here is because I'm a high school dropout. See, I was born on Long Island in a town called Hicksville, and it does exist. There is a name, Hicksville, associated with my town, believe it or not, if you're not from around here. And the truth is that my parents split up when I was 13, and it's still very difficult for me to talk about this. But my parents split up, my dad left, and my mom was preoccupied, hurt. And basically, if you remember what it was like to be 13, it's tough. I just did what I wanted, and mostly what I wanted to do was to cut school and hang out with my boyfriend, who would split his time evenly between doing cocaine and scoring angel dust off of drug dealers in Spanish Harlem with his best friend. I didn't do drugs, but I was lost and looking for solace and love in a sense that I belonged. Looking back and knowing what I know now, it is shocking that something didn't happen to me, because I was in the car when they would buy these drugs, and I was a young girl. I mean, I know now, being a reporter, I could have been murdered, I could have been raped, I could have even just been arrested. There were times I got out of that car because I was scared I wouldn't make it home alive. And I just basically racked up enough absences that I couldn't graduate. Those were my labels then. So I dropped out. I got a job at a produce market called Debra Farms, and I worked there ringing up fruit as a cashier.
And when I turned 18, I got my GED, but I kept working there because I didn't know that other jobs were available to someone like me. And by someone like me, I mean a high school dropout without a world of options.
Again, labels. I believe that people come into our lives for a reason. Call them angels, call them the universe's steering wheel, call them anything, but just be open and let them in. I call them label whisperers. And my good friend John Gonzale and I got together one day after my shift at the produce market, and he was talking to me about his life. And he was going to community college. He loved it. He would take classes that he thought were interesting. He didn't have to get up early. You know, you have to go to school early when you're in high school. But no, he could take his classes at any time. And he was hanging out with new people. He was meeting friends his own age. Well, I looked at him and I thought, oh, I want that. And then something happened that changed my life. I didn't know it at the time, but John said to me, it was very simple. He looked at me and he said, you could be a college student. You're smart in school. Why not you? John was my first label whisperer. I ended up signing up for 3 classes at Nassau Community College in Long Island, and I made my own label for the very first time. College student. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, so that gave me the confidence that I needed to apply for a job at Geico. Maybe you've heard their commercials. Yeah, they're pretty much everywhere. I worked there and I put myself through school. And after a while, I transferred to a 4-year school. I went to Stony Brook University and I made myself finally another label, college graduate. I settled into a life of office jobs and marketing, and one day, this unworldly Long Island girl came to New York City. It's like a movie or something, right? I came here to go see the Museum of Modern Art, and I just loved Liechtenstein and all that pop art. Came there, and that's when I fell in love. Now, anyone who's ever been in love before knows the feeling. You've got the butterflies. You got the sweats, but there's also that sense that when you're with this person or thing that you love, that you feel at home. And that's how I felt. I felt for the first time at home. I fell in love with New York City. And it wasn't just the pace, it was the possibility. To me, all the labels in the world were hanging off trees there. I was hooked. I got another job in marketing, and I moved to New York City. It was awesome, and I made myself some really cool new labels. New Yorker, independent. So now I'm in my 20s. It's a blast. And when you're in your 20s in New York City, you have a damn good time. I'm single, I'm going out all the time. Oh yeah, she knows. Yeah, we're having a blast. You know, you don't make that much money, but you still have a great time. It's like one of those Sex and the City season 1 episodes. That's how good it was. Okay, back when those girls, yeah, anyway. Well, I was out enjoying my first love, New York City. And that's when I met my second love, a boyfriend named Todd. And I had never met anyone like Todd before. I come from a town called Hicksville. You don't meet people that go to Harvard when you're from Hicksville. But I did. And Todd was young and smart and really successful and driven. And I just didn't ever have come across anyone like that before. I just never did. And after dating a few months, he said something to me, pointed out something to me that I didn't even know I was doing. Do you know when you're at a party and someone says to you, hey, what do you do? Did you ever hear yourself spitting out labels? Well, I didn't. And Todd pointed out to me that what I would say was something like this. I work at American Express, I do marketing, I didn't really like it, it's, you know, what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even know about the labels that I was spitting out. I'm basically unsatisfied, uninspired, and settling. I had no idea. I was creating myself with what I was calling myself. See, the thing is, ever since I came here to New York City, I was inspired. That's what brought me here. And I had dreams of telling the stories about the place and the people that I had fallen so in love with. But I didn't know that that was available to me. See, where I came from, I thought I was doing well. I thought I came far enough. I didn't know that all those labels and all those possibilities hanging off trees were really available to me. It took seeing myself through Todd's eyes, a person who thought anything was possible, that made me see that it really was. 2 months later, concrete asbestos and falling bodies stung my eyes as I ran, escaping from on 9/11 from Lower Manhattan. And I learned that sometimes you don't get a do-over. That sometimes Life can change in a millisecond. I knew I wanted a new label, my dream job, reporter. It wasn't easy, for sure. I took a buyout from American Express, and I started at the bottom in news. I mean, I'm talking the entry-level bottom in news. I wasn't meant to get that kind of applause from that, but really, New York One's a fantastic place if you're familiar with it. It's a 24-hour news station in New York City, and it does a great job. But I started as a news assistant, and guess how much I was making, everybody? I like this. I'll tell you, $10.50 an hour to carry a camera and a tripod throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City and shoot news. Oh, and that job, it was a freelance job, and it was tough to get. There's a lot of competition for that. Sometimes I'd work 1 day a week. In fact, I made so little. The first time I worked a full week and I pulled in a full paycheck, I made $5 less than I did sitting at home getting unemployment. Therein lies the rub, people, right? It was not easy. I will tell you that. It was not quick. But I worked my butt off. I worked every hour, every shift, every holiday. For years, I would get up at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, anything I needed to do to work my butt off for this job. I worked in markets where I did stories on a cat getting up a tree, real story, true story there, and also about cows getting out. Yeah, actually I won an award for that one. Seriously, right? But finally, here I was, news reporter and storyteller. Remember earlier when I said, what you call yourself creates yourself? Well, even if you don't realize it, you are choosing your labels every day. Think about that. There are the poisonous labels, where I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm unworthy. Then there are the more subtle, where you don't actually pick your labels to lead yourself where you want to go. Maybe you don't think you can really do it. Maybe you don't think you're worthy of that either. Well, I'm here to tell you that the label that you brought in this room today does not have to be the label that you leave with. Remember earlier when I asked you about those 3 labels that you embody? Think about those now. Do you like them? Do you love them? Think about 3 labels that you want to wear. Like if money was no object, time was infinite, they were handing out labels left and right, what would you pick? It's not easy, but it's worth it. And guess what? You're all here. You're all breathing. You're all alive. That's the minimum you need to just choose your own label. You know who's not here? That boyfriend from high school and his best friend who used to score angel dust in Spanish Harlem. They're both dead. And that's a label that you can't change. So how did I change my label? Well, for me, it just took controlling my inner voice. So when it says, you're not good enough, you didn't finish high school, you're not worthy, that you bitch slap that big inner voice. And you slap a more worthy label over its big mouth. Yes, absolutely. Okay. From Marianne Williamson, one of my favorite quotes. Who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. My labels now: reporter, anchor, blogger, mentor, friend, TEDx speaker, and grateful daughter, because I have the best relationship with my parents. They're back together, by the way, and that's a whole other TEDx talk. Okay, and if you are still not convinced, okay, that you can overcome any label that has been placed on you, check this out. These are labels that were placed on other people. Slow speaker, bad singer, pregnant 14-year-old, cocaine addict, failure, mute. Do you know who wore those labels? Einstein, Elvis, Oprah Winfrey, Gabby Bernstein, Charles Schwab, and Maya Angelou. I want to thank you all, for, wait. For one thing, I want to thank you all specifically. I want to let you know what I'm thanking you for letting me share my secret. Because I just think it's so important to share these things. And if you have a label that you love and a life that you love, then I think it's your responsibility to become a label whisperer for someone else. I want to dedicate today's talk to a person who wore the label of inspiration, admirable journalist, and mom. The New York news community has lost a member. Lisa Colagrassi was a reporter for Channel 7, and she passed away this week. And she was an inspiration to all of us. Thank you.